I was homeless. I went through a divorce. I've been through been faced with death. I've been smacked with a lot of hard hits, and it has been restored. And I have an amazing support system, and I have a great business and amazing support and coach, but it's been brutal and it's hard, So being able to wake the warrior inside, know what you're fighting for, revive that voice, battle, go into battle, start fighting, start showing up with new standards, new attitudes, new beliefs, and dominating your inner demons. And then fully committing to conquering it no matter what. No plan B. I know not everybody likes that. Like, some people got to hold on to their plan B. I'm not a plan B girl. I'm the girl that went homeless for my dream.
Welcome back to the Speak to Freedom podcast. Today's guest is Robyn Tanner. Now, Robyn is an amazing human who went through a journey that was pretty crazy. She ended up at one point sleeping in her gym with her kids, and went from that to speaking on stages, being an author, all these coaching things she does. Like, she's got an amazing background. She's a fighter, and she'll tell you about that. But it's not just about the fight that she has gone through, but it's about how she helps other people pick their fights and actually win the fight. And the fight is, well, you'll find out what the fight is, but it's a fight that allows you to wake up one day and go, I love me, I love what I've created, and regardless of where I went, I'm proud of where I am now. And that's a thing that all of us need to have as a gift sometimes. And she shows you when we talk through how to actually go through it, but you're going to learn through her story how to make it a reality for both your life and maybe those around you. So without further ado, let's hop into the episode. Hey, welcome everybody to the Speak to Freedom podcast. We're going to be hanging out, my friend Robyn Thrasher. How are you doing? Oh, no, it's Tanner. It's Robyn Tanner now.
Tanner.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a married woman.
She's a married woman. She's off the market, folks. Don't ask. She is taken by a great guy, I might add. She's from what I hear, and I've met him in person, she's a great human being. But let's do this. I'm going to just give a real quick base. I've worked with Robyn for a few years now. It's been awesome. She's an amazing human, amazing soul. She does great things in her world. She's got this fired up energy, which you guys are going to get a chance to experience today. But without me telling too much about you, Robyn, if you wouldn't mind sharing with the world, if somebody was to walk into a room with you and they go, hey, what do you do? What would you say?
I'm a fighter. That's the first thing that would come out of my mouth. I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior,
Yeah.
but I'm a mom. I'm a mama too,
Yeah.
and I'm a married woman, but I'm a coach. I've been a coach since I was 19, so it's in my blood. I'm a transformation coach, but I owned a gym for several years. But I'm a fighter. I've come really with your help to own that piece of me, and that's really what I'm on a mission to do, is help other women uncage that badass inside of them and not shy away from it. But that's what I do. I'm also a writer. I have written a book called The Machete Mentality, and I'm working on several others. So that's like my little girl inside me dream, but I am a writer at heart. And thanks to you, I am now a motivational speaker.
Hey, there you go. That's all good. It's all amazing things. I love it. Because really, at the end of the day, I think we're all fighters. I think moms might be more fighters too, because there's just like a built-in aspect, even if it's just fighting with dad, because my wife likes to argue with me over dumb stuff all the time. I'm just joking. No, but I love it. I love the power, the push. So as you kind of enter the world and do this stuff, do you mind sharing with us, and this is genuinely like your journey to this, right? Because to be a fighter, you're not born that way. Usually we're hardened through some experiences that I don't know, they're not always the greatest ones, but the ones that shape us. Do you mind sharing with us what helped develop the fighter in you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't want to take you all the way back to my childhood, because I was that little girl that was determined and self-sufficient and independent. And I grew up with a great family, divorced at 5, split family. So we were pulled in a bunch of different directions. And I really never felt like I had control over my life and my decisions and where we were going. It was always what one of our 4 parents wanted us to do. And a few things happened through the divorce. My brother became addicted to drugs and alcohol. And at 13, I really lost my sibling, my partner. And that took an immediate kind of uprising on that little girl and me that had to grow up and start taking care of herself and start fighting her own way through life, because My parents were always concerned with the fires of putting out whatever was going on with my brother. And, fast forward several years, about 10 years ago, I almost lost my life to a rare infection. And for about 6 weeks, I was on the phone with doctors, going from test to test, you name it. I was poked and prodded. I was rejected. I was overlooked. I was dismissed. I was told there was nothing wrong with me. I was told I was crazy. And I had a pain inside that was just radiating throughout my body, but I looked fine. I looked normal. And this fighter in me really had to advocate for myself and for my health and to fight through a lot of the red tape that you get in the medical and the health, industry. And come to find out, I had a rare infection. It was spreading through my spine and my hips and my bones and my blood. And they had to do emergency surgery to remove part of my spine. And to this day, I have what I call ER for a leg. So I have about a 70 to 80% dead leg. And the other one's all fine. He's like Tigger. So like so that's like a daily kind of chronic pain of trying to get those two to connect and talk to each other. But that was another fight that kind of like really came out of me. And then alongside of it, my stepmom was dying of ovarian cancer the same time that I was fighting death. And she lost her battle. And so then I came out of it struggling with survivor's guilt and PTSD and why am I here and why did she die? And that really catapulted me into understanding how I really wasn't living alive. I really wasn't honoring who I wanted to be, who I wanted to become. All of my dreams were dead in the water. I was a mom, stay-at-home mom, had the pretty house and the pretty car and the husband and the dog and the cat and the whole 9 yards. And I was miserable inside. I was full of doubt and hate for myself. I was lost and I was living a lie. And all of these things kind of just surfaced at once and catapulted me into, waking up. That warrior had been kind of idle since I had become the mom. And if all of this is making sense, it really just allowed me to start living honestly and authentically. And it was scary and it was hard. And that's what I help women do now is actually show up like fully expressed and start to kind of own the battles, those inner demons. And that's what I'm helping women do now through my coaching, through my speaking, Wake the Warrior, my keynote speech. Those are the things that I want people to wake up, that life is leased. It is not promised. And that's pretty much like the backstory of what's brought me here today. Life has been restored. I I have full use of my body within my limitations. And even though people can't see what's wrong with me, that there's pain going on, there's degenerative things going on, I think a lot of people are walking around like this. They're hiding pain. They're fighting wars within. They're not doing the jobs they want to do. They're not living life on their terms. They're living trapped in, I should do this, or I have to do this, versus I get to do this, I want to do this. And you actually get to create the life that you want. And that's what I want to represent.
I like that. It's the truth, man. I think we all have this thought where we have problems and we think we shouldn't have problems. Like, that's not the case. Like, we're supposed to have problems. Like, it's the nature of life to have these things. But the way you face them matters. The way you approach them matters. What was the idea behind you going, I've battled this. I'm struggling with this. I have got it under control or mastered it to an extent. I want to help other people. Because it's not always the mentality of someone to go like, yeah, I got this problem. Let me help other people with their problems. Where was the thought for that?
Let me go and expose myself out there for the world to see. It really started at my gym when I decided to, move forward from the life that I was living, the one that I call a lie. And it wasn't that bad. It wasn't, not that I'm downplaying it, but it wasn't bad. It just wasn't the life that I really wanted to live. And I decided to open my gym from the ground up. And these people were coming to me, you were a gym owner. We were in this fitness realm together, to lose weight, to look good, to have the aesthetics, to get healthier. But it started to really, and I've been a trainer since I was 19 years old. So this is, you kind of see like it's an inner problem, an inside job where they have to start transforming emotionally, mentally, and spiritually in order to get their physical life to match what's really happening on the inside. And when they started coming to me with their problems and their issues at home and their issues with their job and their issues with their spouse and their issues with food, it wasn't about food. It wasn't about laziness. It wasn't about lack of motion. They were out of alignment. They weren't facing their giants. They were lying to themselves every day in the mirror. And there was no
Yeah.
amount of me yelling at them and calling out reps and sending them on another diet plan until they really got the inside strategy down, that they're going to have to purge some of these things, surrender like who they used to be, and start
Mhm.
questioning where they're at right now in order, and begin to start fighting for that future self. Because
Yeah.
otherwise it was you lose the weight for 6 weeks and then they gain it all right back, and it's that perpetual
Yeah.
cycle. So that's really when it started to unearth. I got to start sharing that, like, I've been there. I had the eating disorders. I had the marriage that wasn't honest. I was doing some things that I wasn't proud of, and this death, this wake up call, I think really came to save me, to help these people get on the right path.
Yeah, because those are I remember those years, man. It's crazy because I find that some individuals, they are almost like they want to settle into the suck. Like it's weird that they desire, because they'll find themselves in a position of finally having some progress and traction, and they'll self sabotage. They'll go right back to the place they were. I think it's because part of it, they don't identify with that person yet. It's like they don't know what to do when they're like, they used to be out of weight, out of shape, and overweight, and all of a sudden they're in great shape and there's more
Mm-hmm.
tension. Like, I'm not used to this. It's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find a way to slowly, unconsciously go back to what I'm comfortable with, right? But then there's always the complaint of the place they're at. And you're right. The excuses and the reasons aren't genuinely the reasons. It's just what
Yeah.
they want to be able to share with the world. The stuff that's true is usually deeper and darker. And it's sometimes embarrassing to share with the world. But when you do find that and you do approach that, and you do it, I think I say attack it properly, you can't actually solve it.
Yeah.
So when you look at the work that you've done on
Yeah.
you, what are
I
some
think one of the things that I like to bring out in my coaching and in my speaking is, I like to call it dominating your demons. And I know some that might be like some trigger word or something, but those inner
nah, it's all right.
demons, right? It's like that. I'm
Yeah.
the girl that says the thing out loud that everybody else is thinking. Like I'm the car horn honker. Like I'm that person. But giving a voice to that self-doubt and the disbelief and your discouragement, and I could go on and on with all the alliteration of all of those words, but you know what I'm talking about. And there's this social media trend going around right now, Anthony, that just is driving me nuts. And it's, the social media is fake. And here's what I'm really struggling with. And I'm like, people, it's only fake if you're putting fake stuff out there. Like, if we start actually showing up real and, like, not airing your dirty laundry, I don't think we need to do that. But like you said, like, this is, I can give a voice to this. I can be a face of pain. I look perfectly normal. I struggle with chronic pain. I struggle with depression because of it and anxiety because of it. But I push those edges and push those limits. And if I can share my stories and be brave enough to do that, then other women and men can come along and do the same thing. But if we keep showing up like it's pretend and it's perfect and there's no struggle, there's no honor in that. And it drives me nuts. So I want to be one of those speakers that starts to bring out, like, this is hard. This is hard.
It
It's
is
not
hard.
easy. And if I call it the pain of the path. And if you're on
Yeah.
the wrong path, you're not going to be able to endure it. Because you're on somebody else's dream. You're on somebody else's schedule, somebody else's life, and you haven't yet quite figured out how to define it, in a place where you can keep the rhythm and you can keep the mental pacing, because otherwise you can't endure. Like, it's just too hard, because this is brutal.
How does somebody define it then? How does somebody step in and take a look at it? Because you're right. There's a lot of things that people are battling. And I know some individuals, like, yeah, I've been at this place in my life where I got these problems going on. I don't want to be a burden to people. I don't want to have my friends have to, pick me up off the floor and, when I'm in my lowest place. I don't want to do that. But it's sometimes a necessity. Oftentimes, that's the exact time you need to do that, because that's why you have a friendship. But how does someone start defining that and really giving it, I want to say, the honor and focus it needs to actually be solved?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I've got a lot of clients who do the grin and bear it. Like, they're these high performing, super successful women, right? And they don't want to burden their husband or burden the team that they're growing. And so they don't fully communicate or express because they don't know how. And I think it's a three part. It's a three part. And the first part is really surrendering who you used to be, and then deciding, like, and not, that doesn't mean like give it all up, but really deciding what pieces get to stay and what pieces have to go. and really, even if it was good, if like I loved training, I go to the gym now and I'm like, I could teach that class better. I could train them better. And I so want to get pulled back into the who I used to be and the energy that brought me to where I'm at now and made me successful and made me more of a fighter. But that's not, I'm aspiring to get on stages with you. I'm not going to do any good in the gym as a personal trainer anymore. So really deciding what pieces of you and what energy you no longer want to represent and carry with you. And you do that by questioning who you're, it's really like asking the hard questions, and people don't want to ask the questions and then they don't want to answer them. And that's where facing your giants comes out, is questioning where you're at now. And I think some people get confused because, like, well, I don't want to constantly be tracking my calories. I don't want to constantly be measuring my success. It's too tiring. I can't keep it up. They have like a problem to every solution because they're not willing to really question where they're at, where they cannot add more to their plate. We're not trying to add more, but deepen and strengthen what you've got that's good. And you only know that if you surrender and question. And that's how you fight. That's how you start to create and become what I like to say. That's how you emerge as your warrior, because that inner badass, I can say that, right? I can say that. That inner badass is in there, but you've got her like locked up tight. And I say her because most of my clients are women, but it's really in asking the right questions. And you know what questions they are, Anthony, because those are the ones that you don't answer. When they're doing their journaling exercises, they don't journal. They skip over those. When it's the things that you're asking us to do in the group, those, even me, I admit, like there's some things that like, oh, I don't want to do that, or I'm not good at that. And those are the things that we have to dive into that are scary and hard and uneasy and awkward. But that's where the magic is. And that's where you start to define who you are.
Hey, if you are enjoying this episode right now and you're thinking, man, I'd love to be able to share my ideas like this, I'd love to be able to get on a stage like Robyn's doing and all these kind of cool things, I want to invite you to go to speaktofreedom.com. I run a coaching company where I teach individuals how to get great at getting onto stage, everything that has to do with the business side of the speaking industry that most people aren't made aware of. And it allows you to understand how to unpack the different stages of what you must put into motion to create momentum for your speaking business so you can get up and share an amazing message, but while making amazing impact, you make amazing income, which is what gives you freedom. Hence the name, Speak to Freedom, to have time freedom, money freedom, and the ability to impact lives all over the world. It's what I do every day. It's what I love to teach other individuals to do, because we all have a great story. We all have a great passion, and some of us are meant to give it on a stage. And if you know that's you, let me help you. Hit the link you see wherever it's at possibly, or simply go to speaktofreedom.com. All right, let's get back to the episode with Robyn. Are there any pieces of, or maybe there's like a set of questions or some things? Because I know for me, I had that moment when I was, I want to say early 30s. Yeah, it was early 30s when I had that like, holy crap, I don't like me kind of thing. I had to figure out how to get out of it. I remember sitting there on a couch. It was this brown couch, like this weird like brown wall. I would just like look at the wall and ask questions. But do you have any kind of questions that people maybe as a base or foundation to start with? Because I agree. We oftentimes have had the questions. We'll ask them, and then the answers we do get, we go, I'm gonna go get drunk. Like people just say, they're gonna do something else because they don't want to face the problem, right?
Yeah.
Are there some questions that maybe people should think to, two or three, maybe you can think of off the top of your head that someone could ask themselves?
Yeah. The first one would definitely be, and I know it sounds a little cliche, but it's that mortality motivation one where like, what's the thing that if you die tomorrow, like that is undone, like that restlessness and that stirring, like what is that voice? For me, it's writing these books. I've got 7 books that I want to write. And if those don't get done, whether they're bestsellers or not, but what is that thing, that restlessness inside you that doesn't let up on you? That's the first question. The second one that I usually ask my clients when they're kind of in that state of uncertainty, basically, is what's fun for you? People don't even know what's fun for them anymore. Like, what energizes you? Because what makes me happy and feel, I'm a beach girl and a gym girl, but my husband likes the mountains and lakes, and he really doesn't like going to the gym with me, but he goes. So it's finding what is going to spark that fire inside of you is the great one. Because if you can start to do the thing to settle that like stirring inside of you, if you can figure out what that is and you start to add the fun in your life. And then the third one really is, what are you fighting for? Like, we're all fighting for something. And if you don't know what battle you're in, because we're in a battle, good, bad, or ugly, you're either battling the old life and being stagnant and settling and suffering and the same old average mediocre. And that might be okay. They may be content there. But for the person that is hungry for more, but isn't quite sure and a little wobbly of like what that is or what it looks like what are you fighting for? And I'll give you a bonus one because I say this one a lot and it comes up. I went homeless for my dream. I went homeless for that restlessness. And if they tell you that that is part of the deal when you're trying to do your American dream, like you wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't. We wouldn't commit and sacrifice and start making decisions. So what are you willing to go homeless for? And obviously I don't want anybody to go homeless, but there's a level of sacrifice and commitment and discipline. And I made, choices and mistakes and failure after failure that obviously led to me having to decide between paying my bills at home and not getting an eviction notice or deciding to give up that home and go live in my gym for 6 months with my 2 kids.
Yeah.
What are you willing to
It's a
go
hard one.
homeless for? And if,
Yeah, that's true.
there's a price that you pay to live your dream.
There is. There has to be, or else everybody would have it. It's
Yeah.
genuinely such a simple cliche, but a truth. And I even know a question I would add to that. Those are great questions. They definitely make you center up. And one of the questions like that I think culminates a lot of my discussions with myself years ago was, in the areas of my life that are lacking, where is my responsibility?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that there's fault, right? There's not always fault, but there may be some fault. But I would look at my life and go, these areas of my life are not what I want them to be. Where's my responsibility? Is the marriage not where it's supposed to be? What's my responsibility in this? Am I not a great parent like I wanted to be? Where's my responsibility? And you're presented with information because like we always know, right? You're presented with it and you have to figure out what to do with it. Because if you don't have that, then what happens is we feel helpless and hopeless in pursuing anything or making it better. Because if I go, I have no responsibility, it's not my fault, then I go, I could do nothing, which means there's no way for me to fix this. But if you gain some responsibility and you get some power back, it may come with pain. There may be some pain and power combined, but you go, oh, all right, that was partly me, but I can do something about it now. And it does give you a little bit more of a push. So I want to move to a more optimistic side. Not that it's going to be 100% optimistic, but let's say somebody does this work, and they're actually clear on what needs to be done. They've got the answers they're looking for. What does it look like to pursue a solution or to pursue improvement? Because you were at one point living in your gym with your kids, right? You're not now. You're married, happily married, living in Florida, doing all your great things. What are some things that a person can look at and go, all right, here's some ways, or at least some steps I can go through to find myself on the other side of this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll take you back then to living in my gym. The first one was pretty much what you just said was ownership. So when I was living in my gym, my business partner was also my boyfriend at the time, and we ended up going through a horrible business breakup. Um, and I learned how to show up ugly. And the first step was I had to show up in heartache and I had to show up and do 17-hour days and teach 9-hour classes back to back with a smile on my face and with energy and motivation to inspire these people. And I had to keep showing up. And that was the first step. But in order to get past just showing up and just leveling out at zero and trying to stay afloat, I was 3 months behind on my rent at the gym. There was not enough clients coming in, even though there were about 120 clients at the time. I was the trainer, the operator. I had no trainers. I had nobody but me. And I had to call on my clients and get creative. And I had to tell them the truth. I had to expose my secrets. I had to expose the breakup. I had to expose the 3 months in back rent. And I had to get creative and resourceful to come up with programs and services and deliver that to the clients in a way that saved my gym and saved me from having to show up ugly again and again, even though it taught me like a level of inner resilience that can never be taken away from me, but allowed me to receive help in a way that I could still deliver awesome service, step up, and eventually get myself into an apartment, which was a whole nother, feat when you're an entrepreneur and you're, just got evicted. Nobody wants to sign a lease with you. So that was the first step, was really showing up anyways when I didn't want to, in spite of everything that was going on, again, beneath the surface. But the minute I told people the pain that I was in, where I was at emotionally, they really rallied and supported me and the mission that we were on to help me. So I think one of the steps for somebody would be to face your giants, to expose what's really going on beneath the surface. It doesn't mean you got to go tell the world, but to the people in your service. Sometimes we hide it from our own family. We're not even really talking to our spouses. I didn't hide it from my kids at all. And that helped really build some resilient, amazing kids. But that would be the first step. And that was a long process. So it's not like that happened overnight. That was 6 months of me hiding in the gym, sleeping on rolled up yoga mats, cooking my eggs on an electric skillet on a garage sale table in the back of my gym, getting my kids ready for school and trying to sneak them out the front door before the first class got there. It was a really shameful time for me. So it took quite an amount of courage for me to stand there and go, I messed up. This is what happened. I've been hiding. I've been lying. I've been doing my best and showing up, but I need your help. And I've come up with a game plan. Who's with me? And they rallied. And, I was able to come up, I think it was like $48,000 pretty much overnight to save my gym, to pay additional rent forward. And then I got my bearings back, and 6 months later, it was by Thanksgiving, I was able to celebrate Thanksgiving in an apartment with my kids. And 1 month later, my husband walked through those gym doors. So,
Yeah.
God
Oh,
is
I didn't know
good.
that. I don't
Yeah.
know how that all worked out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I never
okay.
trained him. I
You-
never trained him. I never trained him.
All right. It's funny as I have rules like I don't. Yeah, when I had my gym, I was like I
That's
never
right.
mess with the clients. Yeah, it's like a unwritten rule for the good people. But there are some trainers that do not care about all that. Anyways, I love the aspect of the journey of it because the journey is real. It's gritty. It's the hard fought one because not everybody goes up from those situations. Unfortunately, they go very far down. And I love that you had this mentality at the time of this isn't the end, right? It's not the final. It's just a situation, and it adds to the story. It adds to the grit. It adds to real life. It's humanity. And then you find a solution and people believe in you and then you deliver. That's the human story, and it's a beautiful human story and all that. When you now go out and you speak and you coach and you teach, what are you like really hoping to get people to land in? I understand there's a desire to fight, right? There's that push to fight, but we have to fight for something we desire. And I know it may be hard to completely put a complete grasp on what that is. But what are you hoping somebody walks away from a speech where they've watched you talk or reading your book or work with you as a coach? What are you hoping they walk into the next day of their life having?
Is that they don't abandon their dreams, that they don't abandon themselves, who they really are inside, that they walk away with a level of like, I want this, I can do this thing inside of me, I can give birth to it. Um, but they walk away knowing that plan B is to fully execute plan A, and that they've got the energy and the empowerment to do it. But I grew up in a family, every last one of them abandoned their dreams. They got stuck, they settled, they suffered, for whatever reason. And I love them and they're amazing, but I will not abandon my dreams. And, that's the one thing that I want people to take away, and that I energize them enough with the stories that I want to share, that they see a piece of me, in them.
I like it. And we need that because at the end of the day, that's all we can do is give them a piece of us. Hopefully that piece kind of rolls on.
Yeah.
You have talked to some of the ideas in the process of like, wake your warrior and fight. And I do know your process. Do you
Yeah.
mind walking me through some of that one? I mean, me walking everybody through it so they get a chance to grasp because you alluded to it earlier and I heard it because obviously we work together and I know what I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody who was not in we call it our coaching calls and stuff,
In our-
what they would know what you're talking to.
In our amazing community, which by the way is just, man, it's a lifeline. You have built, like, I've watched you build this, and I just have to say it's cool. I've literally watched you build this, talk about it,
Mhm.
think about it, start it and then build it. And the people in there are real. And it's cool because like you have to be able to have somebody to walk through this with. It's like we aspire to do what you're doing and you're our mentor and our coach, but to walk through it with somebody that's on the same level with you is really cool. And then watch them go get speaking jobs and write their book and publish it's so cool to witness. So I can't even, I'm your biggest fan. I really am. You've really helped me transition and shift my life and bring to life my fight for your future self, this Wake the Warrior. And to answer your question, the process really is the awakening, right? And that's by asking those questions, the powerful questions. And that is going to allow the person to give voice to that restlessness inside, to that stirring that is dormant or that they have almost given up on. So I want to wake that up. And that then leads to battle, like actually battling, getting in the struggle, like getting in the messy mess, because it's messy and it's hard. And I think I talked earlier about the pain of the path. And if you're not in alignment, if you're not on your path and you're doing somebody else's should and what they think you should be doing, and you haven't defined it for yourself, you're fighting the wrong fight. So we got to make sure that you're in the fight for you and that you know what you're fighting for. And this is kind of like where the surgery takes place. And the last part is really committing to conquering that life, that future self. And that's what it's all about in order to give you fearless expression of who you really are, taking ownership, and then actually experiencing the thing, like bringing it into fruition and birthing your dream and actually waking up. I call it fight for your fairy tale. And, it's like I'm in a fairy tale. I was homeless. I went through a divorce. I've been faced with death. I've been smacked with a lot of hard hits. And it has been restored. And I have an amazing support system. And I have a great business and amazing support and coach. But it's been brutal and it's hard, So being able to wake the warrior inside, know what you're fighting for, like revive that voice, battle, go into battle, start fighting, start showing up with new standards, new attitudes, new beliefs, and dominating your inner demons. And then fully committing to conquering it no matter what. No plan B. I know not everybody likes that. Like some people got to hold on to their plan B. I'm not a plan B girl. I'm the girl that went homeless for my dream. So, that's what Wake the Warrior is all about.
Yeah, it's finding a way to fight through stuff. It's got to be a complete sellout, though. That's the thing. Like
Yeah.
when I played football. Like you run down on kickoff. Anybody knows football kickoff? It's like you can't just run down there timid. You got to sell out, because when you run down timid, you get knocked down and you get hurt. The idea is you just have to go, and it's like you press every part of you forward without a full definitive like knowing it's going to work out. You don't know.
Yeah.
What I do know is this: if you don't play at that level, you don't succeed. You don't accidentally win. You win because you're willing to give more than you are willing to give. I just had this conversation with somebody earlier. They were asking like, "Hey, Aunt, with what you do, how can I know for sure be successful with it, actually speaking stuff?" And I go, "Well, you have to work." And he goes, "Well, what is the thing that separates those that are successful and those that aren't successful?" And I go, "To be honest, everyone will give what they want to give. The ones that are successful give what they don't want to give. That's it. The ones that are successful, they give what they don't want to give. Meaning they get to a moment in time and they go, I don't want to do this, but they give it and they give full. It's the way that you actually find success, because what you've given so far is what you've wanted to give. So you've gotten what you've gotten. If you want more, you got to give more. And it's like the whole Cain and Abel thing of, Abel gave God all. And when he gave God all, God says, good job. I appreciate this. I give you my grace. And Cain gave what he wanted to give. And God said, I'm not giving you praise because you didn't give me all. I asked for all. And he goes, what do you mean? I gave you a lot. He goes, but you didn't give me all. So he didn't get what he wanted. That's why Cain killed Abel, right? The concept is a lot of us walk through life going, I want to give what I want to give and get all. Don't work that way. You got to push. You got to fight at a higher level.
Yeah. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. That's, at the end of the day, a lot of people tend to keep piling up, right, their to-do list and adding more on, and that's really not what it's about. And you've taught us that like that dark work, those 3 to 4 hours of doing the things that that you're going to have to do to close the gap. And so every night, like it's not about doing the one more thing. It's about did I do the things? Did I have integrity with myself today so that when I lay down and go to sleep tonight, my brain isn't wide awake, worried about tomorrow, that I can rest easy knowing that get up tomorrow, I have really figured out a rhythm of how to do the things that matter most. And that's how I keep my integrity with myself. And it might be at my pace and a little slower than I want it to be, than my future self wants it to be. But I think it's a pace that only you can define so that you can keep up with it, so that you can actually get to the thing that you think you're trying to get to, even though it's really the process is the thing.
Yeah.
Nobody
really
likes to hear
thing.
that.
It's the process.
Yeah.
No, nobody does, because it's nuanced and it's new and it's different. And even in my work, I'm big on identity, and you're going to be faced with things that don't feel like who you are right now. And that's the thing that everybody is battling. It's not usually people go, I don't know if it's going to work for me. That's not true. And it's not true. If you've seen somebody else have success with it, it'll work. The question is, will I do the work, or do I identify with the work it takes to accomplish that? And if you can settle into something new and embrace the new thing, even if it doesn't feel like you, eventually it will feel like you, and eventually you'll get that thing. But you got to be willing to do those stuff and do the work, and you got to fight for your future self, folks.
Yeah.
I like it. I want to do this. Where is a place I can send people to get more information about you and the work you do? If they want to be able to either hire you as a keynote speaker, they want to hire you as a coach, where would I send them?
They can go to at Robyn Tanner Coaching on Instagram or Facebook, and it's ROBYNTANNER Coaching. They can also go to hire me to speak, would be robyntanner.com/speaking. That's where they can go to find me.
I like it. That's great. You guys go there, check her out. She does great stuff. She has cool things. Final question. If I was to look, we'll call it you 5 years from now, where will we see you? And I always think of like questions to ask at the end. And I ask this question because I know what you're capable of. And I kind of want to have this be a space for accountability. So in 5 years, where will we see Robyn?
I will be on stage with you.
I love it.
I will be a best-selling author, and I'll have a beach house and a farmhouse in Montana with lots of rescue animals.
There you go. Farmhouse and a beach house. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
My wife wants to do the beach thing. She wants to go to Florida and get all leathery skinned on the beach one day. I don't know when. We're contemplating doing like the snowbird thing. The funny thing is, usually you do snowbird if you live in a place that has snow and you go to a sunny place. We live in California. It ain't like around here snowing, man. So she's like, I want to live in Florida. For her, it's for track training, because she can train year round for track, and it's in a warm environment. So I might find myself. Yeah, I'll probably find myself in the next 3 or 4 years living in Florida in the summertime, or wintertime, because it's nice and warm down there, or warmer. That's it. Thank you so much for hanging out with Robyn. You guys are tuned in. Make sure you go check out her work. Thank you as well for hanging out. I do know that in the work that we do in this world, sometimes the ears that need to hear us don't hear us until somebody shares our work with them. So if you found something valuable today, share it with the person that you know needs to hear it. Also, whatever single thing you've, I think, passed into or heard as it kind of flowed into you today through her words, apply that one thing. It just takes one simple thing applied over time to make a massive shift that changes your life in time. So that's it. Thank you for hanging out with us. And as always, make sure you go out into the world. And if you'd like to, speak to freedom, because that's how you actually create a life. It's super cool. You give and the world gives back, and you have freedom from it. That's it. Anthony and Robyn signing off. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Speak to Freedom podcast. I hope you found our discussion inspiring and informative. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated on all our future releases, be sure to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for tuning in today. Until next time, remember to speak with confidence and clarity so you can one day soon speak to freedom. See you in the next episode.